Okay, so I got this 3D tank kit from 3D Tanks on Cults, the Cults website. And this is a M3 Lee Grant. So this is the Lee turret, M3 Lee. This is the M3 Grant. The British liked this style turret. They had more room for their radio and other whatever they wanted in there, right? They came out. They look really nice. I printed the hatches for them, and there's like two little hatches. There's a hatch on each side of the commander's cupola for the M3 Lee. And so, but on closer inspection, right, I sent a message saying that the complete 37 millimeter gun was missing. And actually, I look at your files and I read everything on the Cult site. You say the internal parts, for like the elevation and the recoil are the same. So you have a part that's called the skeleton, and that's where the gun barrel would mount to, and you'd have a servo for recoil, and then you'd have a servo for elevation. So all that's missing is the 37 millimeter gun barrel and the mantlet, unless it's all one piece. But if you look at the files that come with this tank, you look in the turret folder, there's a bunch of loose parts, and then there's two separate folders. One's for the Lee turret, one's for the Grant turret. Okay, so like I said, I printed the turrets first at the hatches, and I was going to do the pistol port hatches, and they were not there. And then I'm looking, and then I looked at all the loose files. There's a gun barrel there, and there's a mantlet there. But when you open the files on your in your slicer, you can clearly see that the mantlet is for a 75 millimeter M4A1 Sherman, or M4A3 75 millimeter Sherman. Okay, and then the gun barrel, you look at the gun barrel, and that's the gun barrel for the Sherman also. Or you have a M4A1 Grizzly, in the Canadian, as a tank for the Canadians. So I bought the Grizzly, and so this is basically the upper hull. It's a pretty big piece. I'm using an Anycubic Cobra 2 Max printer. So even if you had this cut, like you have some pieces that are cut because printers were, somebody has a small printer, they can't print this in one shot. And so I printed this. I started it last night, and I finished early this morning, but it came out really nice. And but then another problem I found, this is the base for the turret, and I imagine it's a generic base. Well, the holes in this don't match up with the mounts on the turret. They don't match up. They're kind of off. Now that's not a big deal. You can elongate the holes and make it fit. You'd have to put a washer or something, right? But anyway, let's keep going. So you've got all these little projections here for the gear to attach to it. The gear, you're gonna have to take my word for it. I'm not gonna get a very good picture, but actually you can see it. The base is a different size, and the gear will not mount onto it. And I actually thought that maybe it would, because you got these like grooves going down through here, and then you got you have to cut this out a little bit with a hobby knife. But I thought, well, this would fit down in there, but it doesn't, because this little like smaller diameter on the top of the gear, I thought it would just fit in there. But how could it? Because you've got all these. You got all these things, not the same size. So I don't know what to do about that. So So these are the problems I've run into so far with this tank. I'm going to put this on hold. Okay, so I just went and grabbed the fenders. I printed the fenders earlier yesterday night, and they finished, and then I started the upper. But the fenders came out beautiful, and yeah, there's only one fender, and you do the mirror image, you know, and you know these were like oriented like right next to each other on my printer, like this, you know, and boy did they come out nice. And all the support material peeled off, and the pots. These are beautiful pots. So I would recommend this kit to anybody. And you know, I plan to make a Grant Danilee, so seeing how nice this came out, I'm just gonna do doubles of everything. I'm gonna have 2 tanks going. I don't know which one I'll finish first because I have to buy the gearboxes and you know the board and all that stuff, but this is going to be a really nice tank when it's finished. You know, like all the support material, you know, because it was like a big, like the driver's hatch area was covered, you know, it had like a support piece in there, and in this whole back area there was a big support piece, you know, and it just peeled right out. And what a beautiful pot this thing is. And it'd be nice, you know, like, you know, we all know from World War II history that this was an early tank, you know, that the USA made. It had 2 machine guns, 230 caliber machine guns down here. That was quickly, you know, like they decided that wasn't a good option. And you know, of course, the M3 Lee and the Grant, they became obsolete very early in the war. When the M4 Sherman came out, these were considered obsolete. But even still, these tanks continued on throughout the whole war. All the ones that were built. You know, as they got destroyed, they just wouldn't repair them. You know, they might take some parts and keep the others running, but you know, this is a historic tank. A lot of people look at it like it's a joke because, you know, like the main gun didn't have much travel. You know, it's kind of like some of the German tanks. You know, the gun barely moves, and you have to position the tank to so you can get the shot. But you know, I just watched Sahara 1943 last night. I watched it again on YouTube. Yeah, it's free on YouTube with ads. But my ad blocker blocks all the ads. But you know, I love that movie. You know, Humphrey Bogart is he does such a great job as the commander of the Lulu Bell. And I recommend this tank to anybody. It just, you know, I need to I'll send another message to Cults, you know, like the 3D tanks on Cults. And I'm sure they'll take care of me. You know, because, I mean, all they have to do is open their own files that comes with this, and they can see what I'm saying here. You know, it's got the wrong mantlet, it's got the wrong gun barrel, the pistol port hatches are missing. And this gear, I don't know. They had 2 different bases. One said, like, smaller holes. I don't know why they would have 2 bases. You know, they only had 1 gear. And I'm not sure what this area here is for. You know, maybe this has something to do with the servo. I don't know. Or maybe it's like, I mean, it can't be the mount. It can't be the mount for the gear motor because these 2 pots attached together. You know. I don't know, but I'm telling you, this is you know, I mirrored these and they came out so nice. It's like, wow, I just really love it. Okay, it's getting to be a long video. I'm going to end it right here. Okay, I hope everybody liked the video.